folks, Machinery Pete here. I'm on my way to the National Farm Machinery Show down in Louisville. I stopped off today in Wyoming, Illinois to meet my friend Tim Colgan. Now Tim has been in the equipment business for a long time and actually just retired. An extra treat today though, we're going to meet Tim but also his dad Joe. Now Joe is 97 years old and got his start in the farm equipment business in 1937. So Tim, Joe, and I are going to talk equipment, talk about all the changes in the last 4, 5, 6, 7 decades. Should be fun. Hey folks, Machinery Pete here, and I'm in Wyoming, Illinois today. Kind of a special visit. I'm on my way to Louisville for the National Farm Show, and I'm here with my friend Tim Colgan and his dad Joe. Joe, nice to meet you. Thanks for
Glad to know you, Greg.
Yeah, Tim, always a pleasure to see you.
Good to see you.
And yeah, we've got a really interesting story here today, folks. Now, Tim just retired as a Deere dealer from the local dealership, which is
KSR, Kelly Sutter, Root Piper. I was with him 22 years.
Okay.
Been with Deere for 40.
40. And now, Dad, Joe here. You started with John Deere when, Joe?
My first job with a dealer was in 33.
1933.
My first job with Deere was 37.
Okay. And you started,
and I became a dealer in 47.
Right here in Wyoming?
Yeah, this is my hometown.
Okay. Wyoming, Illinois. So, now what was your first job with Deere again? Was 1937?
Well, I was in sales. I was an assistant on the territory.
Okay. Calling
on dealers.
So how big was your territory?
We'd each have about 8 or 10 dealers. Each territory had about 8 or 10.
Okay.
So, but I worked at various territories. I worked pretty much the whole state at some time.
So what kind of car were you driving in 1937?
A Plymouth. At that time, they bought Plymouths.
Okay. Okay.
I had a black Plymouth.
And you would travel around Illinois visiting with the Deere dealers.
I spent time in Champaign, principally, the territory there, and the Galesburg territory, and I wound up on the Pontiac territory.
Okay.
I was living on the Pontiac territory when we got married in 1940.
And your wife, again, was very gracious?
She was a country school teacher in that territory.
Really? Awesome. Awesome. And you guys have lived in Wyoming, Illinois here for how long, Joe?
Well, my dad was born about 6 miles from here in what they called the Valley. There were a lot of Irish out there.
Okay.
And in 1910, he bought a piece of ground right here by town.
Okay. Right
at the edge of town. His business was principally, he was a farmer, but he raised Persian horses.
Persian horses?
Persian horses.
Persian, okay. Okay.
And he'd raise enough colts every year to keep them every yearling or maybe even a 2-year-old and sell them.
Okay.
And he made money selling horses, but then that business quit.
Sure. And then, so you, in 1947, you got into the dealership here in Wyoming?
Yeah.
1947. Okay, what was the implement business like in 1947, Joe? What do you remember about those days?
The war would just been ended.
We bought the business for $20,000.
The whole business, $20,000. Okay, okay.
But I didn't have enough money, so I had a partner.
Okay. And who was your partner?
But I made it.
Who was your partner back then?
He was a dealer.
Okay.
And he was on my territory.
Okay.
And I told him that I had a chance to be a dealer, but I needed a partner. He said, "I'll be your partner."
Okay.
Okay.
And off you went.
We together we bought the business, and that's where I had worked before I went to Deere.
Okay.
When I went to work here in 33, Tim and I talked about this.
Yeah.
There was the dealer and 2 men.
That was the business.
That was a mechanic and a delivery man, or a setup man.
Wow. And you were telling me before about the parts.
Well, when I got my job, Deere told the dealer he had to have somebody keep the door open because he would go to the country and lock the store.
Okay.
So they hired me. He hired me as parts man and bookkeeper.
Okay.
The parts department was 12 foot of shelves against the wall.
For D tractors.
12 foot of parts, that was it, huh?
Yeah, well, that we didn't have much. Plows and tractors.
Right.
Model Ds and GPs and
right.
3-bottom plows and harrows and
That was the whole line. That was.
manure spreaders. There wasn't very much,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked for him for 4 years.
Okay.
And in my acquaintance with really with a John Deere bill collector, he was collecting farmers' notes,
Okay.
and I got well acquainted with him,
Mm-hmm.
and he got me into John Deere.
Okay. And then again, 1947, you became a dealer.
Yeah.
And what do you? No, so that was right after the war.
Well, yes.
And
We,
So you had like allocations
in
in.
fact, I was not in service. I had 2 brothers in service,
okay.
and of course, people were getting high-priced jobs. I wasn't making much,
Okay.
but I said, well, I'll stay on this job until the war is over, and it was in 47 when I had a chance
Okay.
to be a dealer.
Okay.
And
Now, what do you remember about the early years being a dealer, Joe? First 5 years.
well, things really got better pretty fast.
Okay.
We could sell a machine at list. At that time, I found out that it says suggested price, but that's only a suggestion.
Yes. Suggest.
What you get
Yes.
is what you can get from a farmer.
Okay. So in the late 40s, you were selling. What were your biggest selling tractors around here?
Well, in 47, we had gotten up to, what, 720s, maybe?
No, that was in the early
Just
50s.
coming up.
Anyway, yeah, Tim's got a book with our tractor sales.
So this book is from the late 40s,
This
early
was some
50s?
47, 48, and 49.
Wow.
That's got the handwritten names. Corn pickers. Look at all the corn
Oh.
pickers.
We gotta
Model 200s.
We got to show this to the folks here. This is awesome. Folks, this was a computer back in the day here, the record book right here from the 40s. So these are corn pickers local farmers bought.
Let's see if
Okay.
we can find the tractors. They'll probably be up front. Combines. That was the first of the combines. 12 A's.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, there's a 55 self-propelled.
Okay.
What year was that?
That was 1950.
1950.
55 combine and 50.
Wow.
I think you go back to T.
Here we are. Yeah, here we are back in 49 and Model A's, B's, A's. Here's a G,
Okay.
A, B, A, B, MT. So
Do they list prices, Tim?
no numbers here, just a serial number and the date and the model.
And you were saying before that each customer would have their own page in the ledger,
In their account book.
in the account book. Okay.
Yeah. But that was when I began. When,
In the 30s.
by the time I was a dealer, we had a lady bookkeeper.
Okay.
And we did get a bookkeeping machine.
Bookkeeping machine.
Yeah, it was kind of an elaborate typewriter that she could enter things in it and get a good statement out of it.
Okay.
And she was good at it. And she stayed with me for 35 years.
Wow. That's
She was
awesome.
a very good lady.
It looks like in 1949 you sold 12 tractors, A's and B's, and then in 50 you sold about 25. So that was the year that it really kind of recovered and took
Yeah.
off.
1950.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Deere was good to me. Everything was on allotment,
Okay.
but they could squeeze a little machine out for me.
Sure.
And as I said, we could just, if we had it, we could sell it.
Right.
At that time, I had a man one day with cash money in his hand,
Mm-hmm.
and well, it might have been later than that, it was a 4-row planter.
Okay.
Well, I said, I don't have one to sell. He said, there's one in your shop. He
Okay.
knew that I had a new one
Sure.
in the crate.
Yep.
I want to buy one.
Cash money.
And he had $100 bills. And he said, I want to buy a 4-row planter. I said, I haven't got one to sell to you.
Wow.
He was disappointed.
Now, Joe, you know, all those decades, and you were in the business until when did you retire?
Well, 89, the boys took over.
Okay.
Tim took over in 70?
79.
79.
Ran it for 10 years.
And how many boys, Joe? How many sons were in the business?
We're lucky.
I have 7 boys.
7 boys.
And
Awesome.
5 girls.
My grandson.
Oh, wow.
But there was 2 of us in the business.
Okay.
My brother Pat and myself.
And Tim.
Pat and Tim.
Yeah.
In 1970, you
Yeah.
jumped in, huh?
77. Well, I started, and then I came back from Vietnam, and And
Hi there.
How are
I'm
you doing?
Andy.
Andy, nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you.
And Andy, you are Tim's
Yeah.
son. Okay.
he's recording this on his machine.
Yeah, we're
I didn't
YouTubing
get
here.
yours started. It's right there.
Yeah. So.
But I came back from Vietnam in '69,
Okay.
and then went to Bradley University and finished up my career there. And then in '71, I came back and worked for Dad, and then bought him out in '77
1977.
to '87 is when I ran.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Joe and Tim, over your years in the business, obviously farming is very cyclical. So you've seen some
Yeah.
big ups and downs. And what some of the rougher times that Tim, you went through the 80s.
The '80s when things were tough then, and it was real hard making any money on any deals. The farmers simply didn't have the money.
Right.
And so that was a tough time, and that's when Deere started consolidating dealerships. And we had a very good territory manager at that time who told us the new tractors were coming, the new bigger combines, the newer planter style. And so they said, your shop's going to have to be bigger, you're going to have more people.
Yep.
And also he said, you really should make a decision. Are you going to join with somebody else, or are you going to get out?
Right.
And so we decided that that time we had farm ground that I would step away and go back to farming.
Okay. And that was, when was that?
'89.
89, you merged with...
We closed our dealership.
Okay.
And then at the same time, at one time there were 6 John Deere dealers within 20 miles of Wyoming.
Wow.
So a lot of competition for equipment,
Yes.
right, Dad?
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
But
there
the
was a lot
Java
of
brothers,
competition between dealers.
Yeah, so that's a tough deal when the farmers got 6 options within 20 miles, all Deere dealers, huh?
yes, lots of choices on tractors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, there were a lot more farms then.
That's true.
The average farm was probably 200 acres, not 4,000.
But Joe, what the changes you saw over your career in the implement business?
Well,
What stands out for you?
I was thinking about how sales went. We talked there before about 2-row pickers.
Right.
There was a time when the corn yield all of a sudden swelled.
Yep.
Then we were selling corn pickers, but then the
Those-
combines came in,
Okay.
and that was the end of corn pickers.
And did you get stuck with a few pickers on the lot, Joe?
I sure did. As I told you, that we were given $1,000 for a trade-in mounted 2-row number
227.
226,
Okay.
Yeah.
and all of a sudden they were worth nothing.
Mm.
I had about 8 on the lot.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I sold the whole stack
Okay.
for $1,000 to a junk dealer.
It kind of in the what's it weigh.
You know, we did
Yeah.
depend at that time. Wisconsin was a good place for used machinery.
Sure.
We had buyers coming from Wisconsin.
Right.
One was a John Deere dealer, and he'd come down here and buy, and he was a good
Okay.
buyer.
Okay.
So we sent quite a bit of used machinery to Wisconsin.
Okay.
But another thing that I thought about when you wonder these, of how in every era or every few years there was a popular machine.
Yeah.
Like I can remember when everybody had a case plow.
Okay.
We sold D tractors. Everybody liked a D tractor.
Right.
Then it was New Holland balers.
Sure.
Everybody had a New Holland baler.
Okay.
Everybody had an AC 5-foot combine, power takeoff combine.
Wow.
You know, that was the way it went. And then when we hit the 40-20,
That was kind of a home
then
run.
we were in a good spot.
Tell them about the wagons, Dad.
Wagons,
Wagons when you went to the
Well,
gravity.
flare box wagons came in from Indiana.
Okay.
And at first it was a kind of an indication that you were a second-class farmer if you had a gravity flow.
Mm-hmm.
If you were a good farmer, you had a barge box with a hydraulic hose.
Okay.
And that was the standard.
Okay.
But the gravity flow backs was good,
Okay.
and they kept getting bigger, and
Sure.
pretty soon everybody had gravity flow, and then pretty soon they had 200 bushel gravity flows.
Things change, don't they?
It was a change.
Right.
Remember the year we were selling M&W little red wagons,
Oh,
Elmo
yeah.
liners? That caught on. They had big tires,
Oh, right, right.
and we had a driver. He would go down and bring back 2 at a time
They were
from
gone.
Gibson City.
Gibson City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they were gone. That was a big year.
Yeah.
Fun to find those hot spots with equipment, isn't it?
Well,
What do you remember when the 4020 came out, Joe? What was the farmer reaction when like the 4020 came out?
oh, they were ready. They wanted them. The 2-cylinder was done.
Okay.
You know, the 4010 and 3010 was ahead of the 4020.
Right.
In 60 was when Deere introduced the
Yep.
3010, 4010.
And that was a big jump for Deere too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, oh yeah,
You went to Dallas to see him. Remember, Dad?
yeah.
For the release
Every dealer went to Dallas
for
for a grand opening,
the 4010s.
and we didn't have a peek at that before that day.
Really?
And one strange thing, we went and saw the new tractor, and everybody was pleased.
Okay.
Then we went and had a cup of coffee, and we were visiting,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden somebody said, "Where's the belt pulley?" There is no belt pulley. How can you sell a tractor
can't
without
do
a
it.
belt
You
pulley?
gotta have that belt pulley, absolutely. Wow.
The old 2-cylinder belt pulley was there all the time.
Right. Well, then you got home and started selling them to dealer or farmers, and you must have realized pretty quickly that this was.
Oh yeah,
a
well
big
they
thing.
wanted the power.
Right.
The 730 had gotten to the limit.
Right.
I was demonstrating a 720 or 30 with a
Okay.
5-bottom plow, and I had a friend who was an international dealer,
Okay.
and he said, "I'm an engineer, and that 730 will not pull 5 bottoms."
Okay.
And I said, "Bill, I'm not an engineer. I'm lucky. I just back up and put in the pin and plow."
And there you go. 5 bottoms. Perfect.